We want to welcome our Nigerian viewers and viewers across the world. This is Lunchtime Politics, where we get to unpack some of the biggest stories in the political terrain. Here's what's on our radar this hour. National Assembly resumes after 10-week recess. Former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, says the federal government must go out to defeat terrorists plaguing the nation. Thus, on the program, IPAC calls for the scrapping of state independent electoral commissions to aid smooth electioneering. Lunchtime Politics starts right now.
Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Yes. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Even though I don't have Iraq. Yes. Okay. But I also.
You're looking at images from the National Assembly as the Senate resumed plenary today after a 10-week recess, with the session presided over initially by the Deputy Senate President. We understand the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, was absent earlier on at the start of plenary, and so the Deputy Senate President announced during the proceedings that he is on his way, which we can tell you, our viewers, now that Mr. Senate President has now arrived the red chambers. There is also a significant turnout of senators marking a full return of legislative business, as you can see there on your screen. Also, earlier, there was also the absence of the embattled senator representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, amongst a few others. However, we can confirm to you this hour that she has now just arrived the Red Chamber. In a show of international solidarity as well, some of the lawmakers arrived at the chamber dressed in Palestinian colors, as you can see there on your screen, an attire advocating for a free Palestine state.
We'll see you later, gentlemen.
Well, that's our big story this hour there, the resumption of the Senate after a 10-week recess. But let's get to bring you other stories in just a moment. Now, the Inter-Party Advisory Council of Nigeria is asking the National Assembly to scrap state independent electoral commissions, as it believes this will foster free, fair elections at the grassroots level. IPAC is also asking federal lawmakers to remove the power to appoint the chairman of INEC from the president. These positions were made known during a meeting of the House Committee on Constitution Review and Political Parties at the National Assembly. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
Activities are beginning to pick up ahead of resumption of full legislative activities at the National Assembly following an 8-week recess. The Constitution Review Committee continues its consultative engagements as it meets with political parties to get their inputs for an improved electoral process for the country.
You are the bridge between governor and the governed. That is who you are. If constitutional amendments are to be legitimate, they must have your buy-in. If they are to be effective, they must address the challenges you face on the ground. And if they are to endure, they must reflect a broad consensus that transcends party lines.
Majority of the contributions border on the need to improve women representation in Parliament.
It is a call to action. The special seat bills represents a bold step towards correcting historic imbalances and ensuring that Nigerian women are not only seen but meaningfully represented in our political and legislative spaces.
Our society is patriarchal in nature. And as such, we must think out of the box to see how we can bring women into governance. We cannot afford to relegate about 50% of our population.
I could not have said it any better than the Senate President's speech that emphasizes the importance of the work that the National Assembly is doing to ensure that in this second attempt at reflecting the importance of women in our national politics and governance, that the Special Seats Bill does pass.
The umbrella body of political parties in Nigeria, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, makes submissions.
For us in IPAC, we believe that the State Independent Electoral Commission's CX should be scrapped and vesting the responsibility of conducting all 704 local government areas elections on the Independent National Electoral Commission. The removal of the power to appoint the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the Commission Secretary, and the National Commissioners, this power should be taken away from the executive. There should be an independent appointment committee, IAC.
IPAC also asks for restoration of funding of political parties to provide for a level playing ground for all and provision of a mechanism to ensure that political parties maintain transparent financial records and accounting practice. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Let's talk security now, where the federal government is again assuring security agencies that it remains fully committed to supporting all the services in line with the renewed hope agenda of the President's administration. The official commissioning of the headquarters annex of the Nigerian Air Force in Gudu, Abuja, Minister of Defense Mohammed Badaru says the federal government places security and stability at the core of building a prosperous and resilient Nigeria.
Advancing infrastructure required to support the future growth and efficiency of the Nigerian Air Force is the reason for this gathering. The arrival of the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff signals the commencement of the events. According to the Chief of the Air Staff, the provision of an additional office complex is not a matter of convenience, but a long overdue strategic necessity.
I am confident that this new facility will in no small measure provide enabling environment for effective command and control, while further strengthening the service's capacity to fulfill its constitutional mandate of defending the territorial integrity of our nation and contributing to national security and stability. The commissioning we are witnessing today is not an isolated undertaking, but part of a wider vision to maintain a highly motivated force through enhanced welfare and continuous infrastructural renewal, as articulated in my command philosophy.
In a renewed bid to stem the tide of insecurity, the Minister of Defense pledges the commitment of the federal government to support all security agencies.
Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, whose consistent investment in the security reforms, improved welfare for personnel, and infrastructure development across services continue to strengthen our armed forces. I therefore urge.
After the speeches, the annex headquarters of the Nigerian Air Force is commissioned by the Minister of Defense, accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff. After the speeches, the new facility is expected to house key branches such as the Air Secretary, Standard and Evaluation, Transformation and Innovation, as well as the 051 Personnel Management Group and an annex of the Chief of the Air Staff's office. The Air Force hopes that this step will ease congestion in addition to providing a firmer institutional foundation for the future of the Nigerian Air Force. The Air Force hopes that this step will ease congestion in addition to providing a firmer institutional foundation for the future of the Nigerian Air Force.
Staying with security, Nigeria's former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, is calling on the federal government to declare a full-scale onslaught against bandits and insurgents unleashing violence across the country. According to him, there are no legal instruments indicating that Nigeria is at war. General Irabo identified several options to curb the insurgency menace and notes that politicians' actions and inactions contributes to the insecurity challenges in the country. He was speaking on our political program, Politics Today.
Boko Haram is only a critical juncture in our development, in our historical journey. The problems of insecurity in Nigeria, which Boko Haram took advantage of, preceded even, our independence. And I try to trace the fact that there has been a lot of disunity in the country, where politicians have never agreed, even before independence and immediate post-independence. Fast forward to what you find even currently, things have not changed. So Boko Haram, coming, in at the beginning of the Fourth Republic, was only to take advantage of that disordered political structure that we have, the setting such that everyone was now looking for how to, gain leverage, and they thought that they could use the political slogan at the time to want to gain their own notoriety, and that for me is the greatest challenge that we have, which we must confront as a people. To say that we must begin to look for a way, first and foremost, to have a psychological reorientation to how we mitigate conflicts, and then to also begin to see how we can conduct a national reconciliation, because we just need it. And thereafter leading to security sector reforms, political reorientation and political structure, and then good governance enhancement, among several other things which I've documented, which if we're able to synchronize appropriately, then of course will be leading to a more secure environment, such that when security agencies, the military in particular, and the police, of course, as part of the security sector reforms, policing is a key element. So the aggregate of all this, of course, with good governance, is what will give us a sense of safety and defense.
So politics will play a major role.
Politics is a critical component.
Politics destroys our security, and politics could.
Politics has destroyed, and politics is what certainly will fix it.
The former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, speaking there after the launch of his book a couple of days ago, which has generated a lot of talking points from former presidents and other major elder statesmen. But this hour, let's get to shift our focus and get to talk something else, because since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999, the controversy of forged or questionable certificates has now become a recurring theme, especially for some of our leaders. The latest is Nigeria's Minister of Science and Technology, who has been in the eye of the storm for some time now, since 2023, when Uche Geoffrey Nnaji, the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, he's been facing allegations of forgery since 2023, when President Bola Tinubu actually nominated him for a ministerial position. Let's get some sort of analysis and commentaries on the program. We're joined this hour by a senior advocate of Nigeria and partner at Zentia legal practitioners, SAN Kayode Adeluola joins us live now from the Ikoyi area here in Lagos. Senior advocate, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us on the program this hour. Let's begin with the fact that the minister, who has been facing some sort of stormy conditions or weather, I should say, Minister Uche Nnaji, since 2023, when these allegations was brought to the fore, he eventually scaled through the process of facing the Senate. And many Nigerians are asking, just how did he get through the Senate with these allegations of certificates forgery? And of course, for Nigerians as well, SAN, I must add that the fact that This is not the first time we're down this lane. It happened some time ago with former Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun. It happened again with the Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu.
Thank you very much for asking this question. And you have actually summarized what Nigerians think and what they're saying. The truth is, let's ask the fundamental questions. Rather than always dealing with the consequences, let us ask ourselves the fundamental question of how did we arrive here? Now, it's important for us to ask, how did someone who has questionable credentials become a minister? He must have been recommended by his region or his political party or some groups, and then must have gone through DSS screening. Let me stop at that point first. Now, for the president to appoint ministers, he must ensure that there is representation from all states of the federation. And I know for a fact that the region Geoffrey Naji represents has very many articulate, knowledgeable, skillful, well-educated professional people who can be ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so when we come up with someone whose credentials are dodgy, it's not very good for us. Second, the DSS. We often see the DSS in black suits and black sunglasses running beside the cars of high-profile people. But the primary focus should be intelligence. It should be very easy for the DSS to approach the NYC, to approach the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a very noble institution a lot of people are very proud of, to ask if indeed the credentials and certificates presented by Chief Naji are genuine. That would have been easy, would have saved all this embarrassment. And then to crowd it all up, his credentials were presented to the Senate, and the Senate passed this gentleman. Now, I think he has the right to defend himself. He should be given an opportunity to present his case and defend himself. But if we have to keep asking ourselves, how did people get nominated? How did people get approval of the Senate when certificates which are paperwork are dodgy? Then we have a question to ask ourselves as a people. It should be quite easy. Otherwise, give this responsibility to National Association of Nigerian Students. I'll be surprised if they won't be able to do it. We must not allow this sort of situation to repeat itself in our country. We have very noble, intelligent people who can serve as ministers and in other capacities. Then to have a debate as to whether somebody went through university or not, it's not good for us. We have enough problems on our hands, and this shouldn't happen. In any case, if it is found, and I think we should start going forward from here, that indeed and in truth, the certificates presented were forged, our criminal code provides for sections, I think, for 463 for such a situation. I think we should begin to ask people to defend themselves. If they're unable to successfully do so,
yes,
they should face the music.
Senior advocate, yes, I'm just taking a look at the statement here from the University of Nigeria Office of the Vice Chancellor. I think we can put that up for our viewers to also see, because they have confirmed that the minister who is under the eye of the storm, Mr. Geoffrey Naji, they confirmed that he was admitted by the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in 1981. They've also said that from all available records and information from the university, they're unable to confirm if the minister, that's the current Minister of Science and Technology, graduated from the university in 1985, as there are no records of his completion of study at the university. So now that the university has come out with this kind of statement against the minister, in fact, I understand he was to brief the press yesterday in Abuja. He eventually could not show up. I understand his SA media had to do the job for him. But talk to us about the legal framework. What laws in Nigeria govern certificate forgery in the country, and what perhaps are the possible offenses, penalties rather, for such offenses?
Well, I'll answer that straight up. I think Section 463, if you forge a document with intention to mislead and to commit fraud, I think you go for 3 years. So that's not a very long sentence. He'll be back soon. But look at that letter which was written by the university itself. I'm quite disappointed. If the university itself could not say categorically, they were saying things like they could not confirm. He did not attend our university, pure and simple. What do you mean could not confirm? Only 1986? And then you now say in another paragraph, we are unable to confirm that he was issued a certificate. Well, that's why the university was unable to issue him a certificate. I think a letter from a university of such standing should simply be a paragraph. We have checked through our records and we confirm that Chief Naji did not come through the rest of Nigeria with Suka, pure and simple. But to say we are unable to confirm we were on, that it just shows that the university itself has not given us the confidence with which we want to proceed. Chief Naji will then be able to say, yes.
SN, I mean, in all fairness to the University of Nigeria and Suka, the third paragraph of that letter actually says that flowing from above, the University of Nigeria did not and consequently could not have issued the purported certificate or at all. So in all fairness to the university, they have confirmed that he gained admission, he had a matriculation number, but they cannot confirm that he eventually completed that program.
Yes, can we just read that letter there so that viewers can see? Look at the second paragraph, line 3. Say we are unable to confirm. What does that mean? You must be able to confirm. That's the point I'm making. That he actually attended and graduated, or he did not. So if in one paragraph, paragraph 2, you say you're unable to confirm, and another you say, well, you did not issue the purported certificate. There's something wrong there. Anyway, let's not go into that. The point here is, did Mr. Jeffrey Naji graduate from University of Nigeria and Suka? If he did not, and he presented certificates which have now shown to be forgeries, it's a crime against the state for which he should be prosecuted.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, walk us through how this paints a picture of our country. At 65, we've had to battle with leaders, governors, ministers, sometimes even the presidents, battling with issues around certificates forgery. The current president, his predecessor, have also had to go through some level of scrutiny and criticism, and accusations. How does this put us in the light of the global community? The fact that every now and then, or every particular administration, there is always something around forgery or alleged allegations of forgery of certificates.
I'll answer that question this way. In some parts of the world, your certificate is not as important as your exposure, your experience, and your diligence at work. That is why it's not unusual to find people in the United States of America saying they do not need a second degree. For us in Nigeria, the certificate for us is not only just a sign of our status, it's also a meal ticket. And so everybody wants to have a certificate. It's a good thing to have a certificate. But if we then make it seem like unless you have a certificate, then you are a nobody, this is the sort of thing we're going to continue to have. There are people, and I think even in the First Republic, who are not that well educated, but who are enlightened, politically astute people, professionally astute people who may not necessarily have certificate. But if you must have a certificate, by all means, make sure it's genuine. Then issue of forgery, unfortunately, it suggests to me, and I think to a lot of Nigerians, that we have a group of people who do not believe in doing things well, and they seem to be the sort of people who seem to get ahead when it comes to politics. There are too many people who are very educated, who have skills, who we should be proud of to have at the forefront. Well, then again, we have other parts of the world, in the Western world, well, I don't want to mention countries now, but you know what country I'm talking about, where they have a president that they're not very proud of. But we don't want to have any situation here where we have ministers who do not have the requisite certificates and who want to govern us. Yeah, when you mentioned the president, with the president, I think that matter has been dealt with by the courts, and I think we should let that lie. But going forward, I don't want to talk about the past, but going forward, I think everybody who presents a certificate which is forged must be punished.
All right. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, let me get your views on a few more issues before we let you go. The National Assembly has only just resumed today after a 10-week recess. Earlier on, our correspondent had reported that the Senate President was on his way. And of course, the embattled senator as well, Senator Natasha Akpotu-Uduaghan too, also arrived, perhaps I should say late, at plenary earlier today or just a moment ago. The debate here is that, will she apologize or not? And should this issue, the battle between herself and the Senate President, should it be handled out of the court?
I think the matter relating to Mrs. Natasha Akpotu-Uduaghan is political in one way, and another, we're talking about legal. The courts have ruled already, and so I think she should be allowed to sit at the Senate, and she should be allowed to represent her people who voted her in. Then the question about apology. You know that sometimes when you do things, not because it's the law or the regulation, you can make light of it. If I were in Mrs. Natasha's shoes and say, look, you must apologize, I will rise up and make light of it and say, on behalf of myself and my entire family, I apologize to every senator here present, including the President of the Senate, and let it pass. She has a responsibility to her people, her constituency, rather than to the President of the Senate or her colleagues. There are 109 senators in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If you're privileged to be one of them, I don't think anyone is going to look at you less than because you have apologized to the Senate. It doesn't take anything away from that woman. And I think her constituency is very proud of her. And if anything, if she apologizes, I think it will make her stand on higher ground rather than diminish her.
Let me give you the chance in 20 seconds or less to react to this latest publication by the former Chief of Defense Staff, which has generated a lot of debates in different quarters. In 20 seconds or less, please. What are your concerns?
Well, I'll soon say this. I think a lot of military people have written a lot of books. And I think those who are in the military right now, rather than hope to write books, should do what they ought to do. The DSS is in charge of security, counterterrorism, and domestic security. They should do what they ought to do. And we should also look at not the consequences of Boko Haram any longer, but the cause. If we begin to educate the Almajiris in the north, and we make sure that they all go to school as required under the fundamental objectives and directive principles, we will sooner than later take away those who are the conscripts into the Boko Haram network. And sooner than later, we'll find out that Boko Haram itself will not have people to do this, not a nasty job for them. I think we need to look at that as well and make sure that it becomes impossible for Boko Haram to continue to thrive. And wherever they get their ammunition from, we should block it. That is intelligence for the DSS, not mine. Thank you.
It's a fine place to anchor our conversation with you, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and partner at Zentia legal practitioners, Kayode Adeluola, who has joined us from the Ikoyi area here in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you indeed, SAN.
Thank you very much.
Well, that conversation does it for us here on this hour of Lunchtime Politics. Thanks indeed for watching. On behalf of the production team and everyone here, I am Kelly Egiga, and you have been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye now.